We're letting all participants in now. So just bear with us while we fill up the attendees. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
See some familiar faces. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Ruby.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Cheryl. Amazing. Hi, Narelle in the chat. All right, everybody. So it looks like we've got a good amount of people on. All of our panelists have now officially joined. So we are going to kick this off and officially welcome you to our second Virtual Fireside Chat Series, the Antigua edition, and a very special welcome to each and every one of our panelists who are joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing from each and every one of you. For those of you here that don't know me, my name is Kristen Moore. I'm the CEO of Destinations of Distinction. I'm joined by my entire team virtually today, but a special shout out to Crystal Roach, who is a co-host with me today. She's going to be assisting with moderating the panel and jotting down your questions for our Q&A. All of our attendees, you are welcome to submit questions throughout the discussion. So you will see the chat icon located on the bottom bar of the screen. Please, throughout the discussion, if something comes up that you'd like us to address, just put the @@ symbol and the panelist's name that you'd like us to direct the question to, and we'll take it from there. We're probably going to use the last 15 minutes of the hour to open it up for the question and answer. And so, you know, as we know, the travel industry has been arguably impacted the hardest thus far throughout this whole process. However, we are a resilient industry and we are built on relationships. And so we are confident that we are going to weather this storm now as countries and borders begin to open. Conversations like these are so important to have with our trusted partners. So we're very excited to dive into this discussion today with every one of you. We're going to start by doing a quick round robin. I'm going to open it up to all of our panelists to just do a quick intro, let us know who they are and where they're from, and then we're going to dive into the questions. So let's start out with Mr. Dean Fenton.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm Dean Fenton, as most of you guys know, and I'm the U.S. Director for Marketing and Sales for the U.S. Area, and I represent the Antigua Tourist Board, obviously, but yeah, I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to everyone.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Dean. And next, Tarun.
Hello, I'm Tarun Misri. I'm the GM or General Manager of Cala Bay in Antigua. It's 35 degrees here. It's sunny outside. Sorry, I'm not trying to rub in with anybody else.
No rubbing in there. Paloma.
Hi, I'm Paloma Villaverde Rico, the editor-in-chief of Recommend Magazine. It's also very sunny here in Miami. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And Heather?
Hey, I'm Heather Christopher, owner of Heather Christopher Travel Consulting and co-owner of Travel Pro Theory. And I'm in Gettysburg, PA, where it's just humid, just sticky.
Yes. And Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am the owner of Vacations Booked, and we are based in Nashville, Tennessee.
Awesome. Bailey?
Hi, my name is Bailey White. I'm the owner of Beat the Travel, and I'm also based in Nashville, Tennessee. Me and Rachel recently met virtually, and we live about 5 minutes away from one another. So that's fun.
That's cool. Small world. And Tom?
Tom Borghese, owner of Travel Tom in Rockville, Maryland, right outside of DC, and really happy to join this call.
Awesome. And last but not least, Natalie? I think she's muted. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Chris, can we try to unmute Natalie?
Natalie, can you do it on your end? Because you muted yourself, so I can't actually unmute you.
Go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Natalie Faginelli, Bayside Travel in New York. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing.
Amazing, amazing. Well, welcome again to each and every one of the panelists, and let's dive in. So I thought it would be really important for us to open up the discussion on a broad level in terms of the destination. And so, as most of you hopefully know, Antigua has officially opened borders. So we are very excited to have Dean on today to give us just a general update. And so, Dean, let's start it out, with what the process looks like now for American travelers coming into the destination. What can they expect once they disembark from the plane and head to their vacation?
Yeah, again, thank you for having me on, Kristen. Very good question. As you know, this pandemic has been scaring a lot of people from wanting to travel, but our little tiny nation has been very brave in taking the first step, as you guys might have known, in the Caribbean to really open up our borders and start welcoming our passengers back. We opened up June 1st, and our first commercial flight was June 4th. And what we've been doing, all arriving passengers must have a mask in their possession for use in when they disembark, which must be worn in public areas throughout the stay in Antigua and Barbuda. Also, when you before you disembark, you'll be given a quarantine form to fill out. And basically those questions are medical questions. Did you develop a heavy fever while you were on the flight? Were you coughing excessively? Stuff like that. They'll just ask you a lot of medical questions. And based on your responses, if you have more of the positive questions that they're looking for, you were coughing excessively or you develop a high fever, etc., we will then once you disembark and present that form, you'll be given a further test to see if you really have the COVID. And if you do, you'll be quarantined, obviously, and so forth. But also, all arriving passengers must complete the health declaration form. Like I said, screening and thermal checks you'll have to go through that as well, will occur on arrival. And passengers may be asked to undergo coronavirus testing on arrival. With regards to the airport transfer, large commercial passenger transport vehicles are permitted to carry only 50% of the passengers. So if you take a taxi that usually has 15 people, only 7 passengers will be allowed in that vehicle, and must be kept clean. The vehicle will be kept clean at all times, and they will be sanitized and will be equipped with hand sanitizers. All vehicles must be subject to random inspections by the government, by the public health system. And again, all the vehicles that we use to date are certified taxi vehicles. So we're trying to create less touch points for the passenger. Your luggage also would be, we're trying to have dogs sniff them and all that stuff. So, and stuff like that. We're trying to cut down on the touch points once you land in Antigua. And like I said, those are some of the things that we have in place. Some of these are subject to change. So before we actually finish this segment, I'll throw a lot of the protocols in the chat so you guys can see exactly what we're doing and what's subject to change as well. Passengers arriving by sailing craft, private yachts, ferries, services are also subject to guidelines issued by the Port of Health. All marine pleasure crafts and ferry services will enter only at the Nevis Street Port in Antigua. All hospitality and accommodation, to include hotels, resorts, villas, and homes, rentals must satisfy the stipulation by the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Environment, and be certified prior to welcoming visitors. Restaurant dining protocols include enhancing cleaning, disinfecting of frequent touch surfaces, incorporate physical distances measures, and will all offer a la carte dining and delivery throughout the service instead of buffets. And again, and we have a lot of questions about, the social distancing. Antigua is well positioned by default because we have 365 beautiful beaches, guys. You hardly find more than one resort on a beach. So your clients can rest assured that they won't be fighting for a beach chair or anybody on top of them. And then we have so many enclaves with the different private beaches, so you can actually go to a private beach off resort if you wish to do so. So despite of all what's going on with with the coronavirus. I think Antigua is well positioned by default, very boutique hotels. They're doing all the things that should be in place to welcome all the guests back to Antigua.
That's great, Dean. And so last question for you as it relates to the overall tourism. And we know obviously infection rates have been going down in the US, but the tri-state area was arguably hit the hardest. And that actually happens to be one of the main feeder markets into Antigua. And so, you know, how does that play into how the locals feel about reopening the borders to these travelers? You know, have you heard anything on the ground? I mean, obviously tourism is such an important part of Antigua, but, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
Very good question, Kristen. And again, we're just in phase one, we just started phase one June 1st, and that's going to go all the way to September 30th. So most of the country, other parts of the world, are in phase two already. So again, by default, we're well positioned. So once we get to phase two, you know, that should subside. All the fear should be subsided. There should be a break in everything. And I think we did not misstep. I think we really were very calculating coming out the gate. And that's what we're hoping that, you know, once we get to phase two, people be in phase 3 and 4. So we'll be playing catch up in a sense, but at the same time, we'll be well positioned to welcome our guests back because everybody's ahead of us pretty much. So that's the madness, but it's going to work because we're playing catch up with a lot of these countries.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dean. Thank you. And Paloma, you know, perhaps a question for you as it relates to media and tourism, and how have you seen media coverage change since the pandemic began? And do you feel that this will have a lasting effect on how travel trends are written about in the future?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it will definitely change. I think, well, from the first part of your question, from how it started to how it is now, it's just been a roller coaster ride. Obviously, at the very beginning, we were just all the closures around the world, and it was just devastating. But as a publication, we have to look to the future as well. So we actually created on our site Amazing Days Ahead because we knew eventually things would start rebounding, like Antigua opening up. And so even though we had to be in the day-to-day, we had to look to the future. So it was, you know, kind of a crazy time. But now, thankfully, things are starting to reopening. So we're focusing on, you know, safe travels, you know, the new protocols of health and safety around the industry. And this will definitely change how we cover tourism. I mean, you know, you just have to be so much more thoughtful now and everything, just cut through all the weed, cut through all the fluff and say, you know, because, you know, a beautiful landscape, there's so much more to it than that. And, you know, wellness now is huge. Sustainable travel is even bigger than it was before. So this is a pivoting moment for everyone in the travel media industry for certain. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so, you know, moving forward into the future and obviously focusing on the positives, what topics or trends do you feel like readers are going to want to see or hear about, you know, as we go into now the recovery phase?
So what we've been hearing from our travel advisor audience is, you know, they want to know what these protocols are going to be. For example, you know, when you get to Antigua, what's going to happen? What if I have a fever? Then what? Am I going to be isolated in my room? Is there an area? I heard yesterday from a supplier that there are certain hotels that will have certain areas that if your temperature is a little higher, you will be in a certain area of the hotel for the period that you're there on island. And so really it's just what's opening, which airlines are going where, when is Europe opening, when is the islands opening, because there's so many, you know, different opening times for everything. And is there going to be quarantine when I get there? All those little steps, that's what we've been hearing from our advisors that they want to know. What are the protocols now when I send my client? You know, what's going to happen with cruise lines when they get on board? Is there confidence to get on cruise lines? That sort of thing. So obviously we've been asking all the people such as Dean and suppliers and Cruise Line XX, what are you doing to instill this confidence so that travel advisors are confident in selling your product?
That's really great. And I guess we can actually open that up to then Tarun, because on that note, You know, I know that Carlisle Bay has been working very hard on leveling up the protocols on site and what that guest experience is going to look like. So Tarun, if you'd like to just fill us in on what you've been working on. And I know that Carlisle Bay will be officially reopening in October, so there is a lot to do from now until then. But if you'd like to let us know.
Thank you, Christine, for the question. Yes, we are thinking to open on the 10th of October, and we are designing a guest journey from them arriving at the airport to us here. The journey will be basically with sanitizers and what they're going to expect when they're coming in here, and that's where we're going to train our reservation team to make sure that we communicate that to the guests prior for them to come in about the experience that they're going to encounter when they reach the airport, just to enhance the service and to make sure that, like, you know, that we are confident on the product that we're going to sell, and the confidence for the guests to travel to come to us. You know, we need to make confident, like, you know, for them to be confident that we are here to look after them at a 5-star resort, at a 5-star service.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that 5-star service, and then obviously Dean mentioned, you know, being a Caribbean destination, it does lend itself easily for social distancing. So Tarun, why Carlisle Bay as we start to reopen? What does that experience and that atmosphere lend itself to that others might not?
Yeah, Carlisle Bay, as we have one of the most beautiful beach on the island itself in Antigua, and like, you know, it's not a private beach, but it's seen to be private. So there's enough space for our guests to wander around, and we have 4 restaurants, and, like, you know, redesigning the menus. So it is going to be a high service and a high quality of food, and like, you know, and working with the chef to make more proactive drinks, like, you know, serving in the guest room or serving on station that we put around, so that it's be healthy, looking at the healthy side of the menus and everything. So that's which we'll be looking at, and we're working towards it.
Fantastic. And any last minute comments on what Carlisle Bay is doing in terms of our travel advisor community? Our travel advisors are so important. They're a lifeline to Carlisle's success here in the US. And so, you know, I know that we've recently put out an incentive, and we're also designing a travel advisor only concierge line and email for travel advisors. But Tarun, anything else that you can share with us in terms of our relationships with the travel advisors moving forward?
Yeah, so as you say yourself, is a relationship that we need to build, and the confidence that we need to reassure them when they are sending or selling our product to the guests, is they are confident with the client that, yes, when they come into Carlisle Bay, we'll be looking after them at a 5-star standard, and make sure that, like, you know, everything is covered from hygiene point of view, menus, service, and anything that they will have, like, you know, training the staff. Everything is, nothing is being left, you know, everything is being taken care of.
That's wonderful. And so we can kind of segue that right into our travel advisors and working with suppliers. So not only just in Antigua, but all around the world. I know that you guys have developed some very key partnerships and relationships. And so I guess we can start it out actually with Heather, if you don't mind. And how is the importance of working with these trusted suppliers and having those relationships? Has that changed for you? Obviously it's still important, but what does your qualifying standards look like now? Maybe if they're a little bit different than before.
It's a great question, because I think it was already an important topic in conversation that, you know, with Travel Pro Theory, a lot with people having different standards and not knowing how to vet, for lack of a better word, supplier partners. So now moving forward, we're all kind of holding our breath to make sure all of our partners that we want to still be there 6 months, 9 months, a year are still there, and how do we kind of determine that? You know, I think going forward though, I'm going to be sticking as close to my core list as I can for the next foreseeable future, until I feel like we've kind of come through the current window of like uncertainty, until we're a little bit further past this. I would do the same thing I always do though, ask a colleague if they'd worked with somebody at least more than once and for a longer time than probably, you know, a year, to determine if I was going to work with somebody.
Great, and we'll open that up to any of our other advisors. I mean, have your standards and qualifying suppliers changed? I mean, hopefully no one has horror stories coming out of this, although you might, but have your suppliers stepped up in ways that you weren't anticipating, perhaps?
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. I think the power of partnerships has really been critical during this stage. Like Heather said, we typically don't sell to everybody. We have a small group of partners that we trust and have taken really great care of our clients. And it's been refreshing to see how some of them have really stepped up during this time in terms of either cancellations or refunds or rebookings, giving additional incentives. You know, I call them stimulus packages, if you will. You know, what can we do to help our clients feel comfortable rebooking again to their property? And then once again, all the resorts that are coming out now with all their protocols of how they're stepping up and creating a safe environment for the guests, I think is really, really critical as well.
Absolutely, and we've always known that FAM trips, familiarization trips, have been key in your own education because your clients want to know if you've personally experienced it and you've personally vetted it. And so, I mean, Tom, do you feel like moving forward that will be more important than ever as these borders open, that your advisors get the chance to experience these destinations as they reopen?
I think it's hugely important for travel agents or travel consultants to experience the destinations as well as the resorts themselves. I mean, as an example, for our team, we try to take one major trip every single year, a couple of minor trips. For our major trip last year, we actually went to Antigua. So it was really great to be hosted by the island. The tourism board did a phenomenal job in pulling the whole itinerary together, almost making it hassle-free. And then for us, we'd like to see as many properties as possible. So even though I've been to Antigua many times, we had a chance, for example, to experience Carlisle Bay for the first time. And we actually were hosted by Carlisle Bay. They did a phenomenal job. And within 30, 60 days, we actually ended up selling a lot of those properties that we actually stayed at, including Carlisle Bay. But more importantly, the relationships that were created on the FAM trip, I think, is the most key. The ability to not only see the property, but to meet the management team, make sure they understand our needs, the needs of our guests. And then when we sent a client there, which we did in February soon thereafter, we reached out to the team that took exceptional care of them for a milestone birthday. So I think those things are really, really critical, not only to see the property and to experience the property, but to create those relationships that are everlasting.
Absolutely. And, you know, and this would really be open to any of our travel advisors. Do you see a resurgence of the travel advisor, you know, perhaps amongst those, you know, consumers that may have gone online previously and now realizing the value? How do you all feel about that moving forward?
I think the traditional tour operator is going to come back, in my opinion. Too many people were left standing alone, you know, dealing with the OTAs. So I really think we're going to see a lot of that coming back. And I hope I'm right. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
just to add to that comment really, really quickly, I mean, I think this is a critical time for travel agencies to take a lead. I mean, when Bookit.com went under, I made a huge posting online about the value of a travel agent or consultant in your back pocket versus booking an OTA online. I mean, you can try calling Bookit and you'll never get a hold of them. You can try sending them countless emails, you'll never get a hold of them. You know, with us, you have our cell phone numbers, you have our phone numbers, and that's the value add that we add at no additional charge that you don't get with an OTA. Countless horror stories of Costco and, you know, Expedia where people are on hold for 6 to 8 hours trying to just get them online. That doesn't happen with us. And I think that's important for us to sell that value and show that we're there for our clients.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going on selling that value, I mean, I know that one of the words of the year amongst many is pivot, and everyone's looking to pivot their businesses. And so, Bailey, in regards to your agency, you know, have you launched any positive pivots in this time? So obviously you're already offering amazing services to your clients, but what else have you guys done when you put pen to paper in terms of the new era of travel and what you can offer them?
Yeah, it's interesting that you ask this and kind of all of these things working together at once. You know, when everything first happened, obviously every single travel advisor was in a state of panic and just trying to make it through the end of every day and take care of our clients the best that we could. But then at the end of it, when the dust kind of settles and we accepted that this was going to be how it is for however long that this is going to last, we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to, I guess, fill any downtime that we had to come out of the other side of this, whenever that is, as a better team, as better travel advisors. So talking about predicting almost a wave of new business once all of this is over, we fully believe, and maybe it's blind optimism, but I really do believe that after all of this is said and done, people are not going to want to be booking online anymore. Nobody wants to wait 3 days on hold to change an airline ticket on their own anymore. I think those days are going to be further and further behind us. So we actually, during this time, move forward with a pre-pandemic plan of expanding our team and bringing on new travel advisors. So we actually went through and created an entire training program to move forward and expand our team, and brought on 2 new travel advisors in anticipation of perhaps blowing up more than we ever had before. So that was definitely one positive change. And then, of course, just filling any downtime we have with looking internally. How can we better our processes? How can we be more transparent to the client? I think moving forward, transparency is going to be so key, even more than it was important before. I think that everyone needs to know what's the flow of their dollar when they're working with a travel advisor. We need to be really clear on travel insurance. So I think every travel advisor really got a lesson on what policies are covering what. And we are, taking every action that we can to become more and more clear with that, and how do we communicate that to the client. So just, transparency is key, fine-tuning our systems and anticipating what we hope is to be a smooth business.
That's great. And any of our other advisors, have any of you also done some positive pivots with the way that you're either connecting with your clients or just the way that you're giving them?
Yeah, so I think domestic travel is back in a big way. And unfortunately, I would say about almost 100% of our bookings were for international travel. So domestic wasn't really our niche pre-COVID. So that was a way we kind of had to pivot. And so I decided last week to book a flight down to Florida, and did my own little BAM and checked out some properties. And while I was there, ended up finding some amazing properties and booked a couple of them. So that was great. And then when I got back 2 days ago, we are starting to see international open up and people getting excited about it. And so I think as travel advisors, we need to be the first ones going and experiencing it for our clients. So I ended up booking an international destination for next month. So I think it was good to be able to shift our focus a little bit and shift our focus to domestic for the time being, but we're really excited for international to open back up and start booking that again.
That's fantastic. And so, obviously we know the importance of fam trips, and you all have agreed on that. In terms of the way that your suppliers are connecting with each and every one of you. So as you know, we obviously are coming out of our quarantines here. A big part of our selling features is visiting you all and speaking to you face to face in many of your agencies. A lot of the travel advisors we work with are home-based, so we have always found ways to connect with you. But what can suppliers, your hotelier partners who you were maybe seeing on a regular basis in your office, do now to connect with you? How can they reach you in a way that's not going to inundate you, but give you the information that you need? That's for any of our travel advisors.
I'll continue to talk since I'm unmuted. I think, we've been virtual since the very beginning. So the whole technology Zoom thing has not really changed for us. But if a client called me today and asked to meet with me, I would be fine going and meeting with them. Our area of the country has not been quite as affected as the West Coast or the Northeast. So that's not a huge change for me, but I am thankful for the technology that it's opened up for our agency that we might not have discovered otherwise. I think I had been on Zoom maybe twice, pre-COVID, and now I think we can all teach a class on it. So and then there's other technology that, new platforms. Facebook now has meeting space up to 50 people. And then we recently discovered, some of you may know about it, but I didn't know about Loom, which is just a high contact touch tool for your clients to be able to show your face and let them hear your voice in an email. And it's much more efficient than sitting and typing out an email. So I still think we'll move in the technology direction, but I am looking forward to integrating back into that face-to-face interaction.
Definitely. And Natalie, how about you? I mean, I know that we've personally been in your office many times, and we attend your customer appreciation event, which is fantastic. I mean, how do you want the suppliers? You have a fairly large office, Bayside Travel. So how would you like suppliers and hoteliers to reach you moving forward?
Right now, they are all remote. We literally created a remote virtual company. That's what I spent my first 4 or 5 weeks at this doing. So they are all reset up with totally, on a technology remote basis. They've learned very quickly Zoom and team meetings and all of that. We have had virtual trainings and meetings, predominantly. I first focused on the domestic market because, like some of the others here, I am a European customized Asia specialist. So that's my focus, but I do sell a lot of Caribbean and some USA. So the team had to be a little bit restructured with training. So I've been reaching out, not overwhelming the advisors, but on a regular basis, at least a couple of times a week, reaching out to suppliers for Zoom, trainings. And they're doing webinar trainings right now with their team. And that's what I see right now for the future, because yes, our space is big, but it doesn't quite fit that dynamic with the guidelines for New York and Westchester County and what has to be done. So we're going to continue to have them become truly proficient in not using, as mostly using e-folders, subfolders, really get that skill proficient. And we hope eventually to move them back in the office. So we definitely do a lot of Zoom trainings, and we have a Zoom meeting multiple times a week with each other. So.
Great.
And clients, it's working with clients. They're asking for them, which has been fun, getting to see them. Good. For now.
Good. And Dean, from a tourism level, I mean, I know that you guys have historically been very engaged in the travel agency community. Do you have anything upcoming, now that the destination is open, in terms of getting out there into the market and reaching the advisors, that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, besides doing the training, and then having agents become specialists, we actually, we all need each other right now. So my whole focus is whatever we can do in terms of co-op, stuff like that, get the agents, re-energized, helping them do different things with their agencies. That's where my focus is, just to build it back up in terms of us doing partnerships together. So, and then this weekend we're doing a virtual little drink. They're still getting to, see what each other heads are at with things. So basically my whole focus right now is just to strengthen my relationships with the travel advisors, how we can help, how we can, assist you with your clients getting down to Antigua more so than ever, and that's where our focus is right now, going through phase 1 as well. Me and my entire team, actually, yeah.
Great. And another question for any one of our advisors, now that international borders are opening, and particularly Antigua and the Caribbean, how do you see that as a region performing for you? Are your clients asking for Caribbean? Do you see as it's a slow trickle? Do you feel it's more just domestic for the time being? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, realistically, it's going to be domestic travel. We've seen it. For Antigua, luckily, we're getting a lot of diaspora traffic coming in, a lot of business traffic as well. We've seen a lot of business people coming to Antigua also with the diaspora traffic. And if the hotels in Antigua are really smart, they will just actually start doing some staycation for the diaspora as well, and for locals. And I think that's a way for us to get back up to speed, like they're doing in the United States, where people are staying 100 miles away from their home in hotels and stuff like that. I think hotels going to have to get really creative moving forward until the international traffic really comes back.
Yeah,
I think it's a constant risk assessment for each person that I've spoken to, each client. I've got some that are like, just give me the list of what I can actually go to internationally, and others that are not there yet. And I find myself more in a risk advising like position than I ever have in my career, versus actually being able to be like, let's get excited about something. I'm like, wait, we have to just look, because even the reality with the situation of the protocols coming into Antigua, it's still a situation of what if you do have a fever and then you are quarantined? You know, we have to constantly risk assess what that feels like to them. And then I think what I'm seeing too, we saw this in February, March, when this first started, where people were concerned that if they went, when they came back, they'd have to quarantine. Obviously, we all had to quarantine, so then it became that situation. But now we're moving into a situation where if I come back, is my work going back to work and I can't quarantine at home? So I think this whole conversation is obviously fluid in general, but I think I feel like I'm turning into, you know, something different than, you know, it really looked like before. So
Great.
I think clients are ready to start traveling, or at least start having the conversations. We actually booked someone today to Antigua, which is fantastic. So we're just dying to get out. But I think when they're watching, they're relying on us to find out what's opening, where can we go that's going to be providing a good experience yet safe. And I think it's our jobs to not only book them, but also talk about the realities of what they might experience when they get there. Their experience may not be 100% what it was advertised a year ago, for example. Not all the restaurants might be open. Not all the activities might be available. So I think as advisors, we definitely need to educate our clients as well to make sure that we don't get a backlash when they come back and say, you sold me on something that was not what I expected. So I think that's part of our jobs.
that's where the hotels, I know you asked this earlier, Kristen, you made me think of it, but what I'm finding is really beneficial if a hotel can give a true real life experience of what this is walking into. And I like, not the marketing level, like, you know, like we're going to have this and this. I need to understand what it's going to feel like in order to ensure that I don't have the client come back and say, man, Heather, that didn't feel right. Like I can tell them and set expectations appropriately, then everybody's happy. So I think really the forward movement for all of our partnerships is going to be, what does that feel like right now? And then I can determine who that's appropriate for.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And that's something that I know, Tarun, we have previously spoken about on, you know, the property level in terms of just, you know, how contactless will it be? Is it going to feel like a hospital experience with masks or whatever, you know? And I think that what's important is that the hotels provide you with as much information as possible so that the client says, you know what, this is either for me, or maybe I should just wait a little bit longer.
Second that.
The main thing is that's where we need to have the relationship and do the talking with all the partners and make sure that what we are offering, it's exactly what the guest is going to experience when they come in here, and it's need to be truthful to the guests. And same what Rachel said, she went to travel last week to a couple of places and to experience it, and it is the same thing that I think the travel partners need to do, is to come to visit us as a farm trip and experience exactly, so that they can sell it with more confidence to their guests.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Listen, before, just to echo what you said before, I think a lot of this confidence level has to come from the hoteliers. I think a lot of people want to know what the hotel is doing to prepare the guests to come back. You know, the tourist book could speak as much as we want, the airline could do whatever they want, but I think people really want to know, what are the hotels? They want to see that little 20-minute video, 20-second video on your website, or 10-second video to get that confidence level back up. Okay, this is what Carlisle is doing. I really want to go because they're doing good stuff. I think for the travel advisors and their clients, that's what they want to see. They want to see what the hotels are really doing. That's the end all, in my opinion, you know, once they get there.
Yeah, exactly, Dean. Completely agree with you. Exactly, the way that we need to do it is virtually, to show the guests what we are offering and how they're going to be welcome here and what's the standard that they're going to receive. You know. Yeah.
I just want to add, the most important thing for the hoteliers, because right, the tourist board, like they're going to do their 100%, but the hoteliers or suppliers, if it's, you start building, you know, private tour, whatever it is, not Antigua necessarily, but the transparency on what they will not be able to do, or what it will not be there, or we have to be as clear as possible, because it's better to let that client decline going for 3 or 4 months than to have multiple clients get down there. It's bad for the agency, the agent, it's bad for the hotel. You know, that's really what we've been pushing. The Northeast, we're in the Northeast, so we've been getting a lot of Chatham Bars, Requasset, Ocean House, Rhode Island, you know, all of that northern seaboard requests, and we just hound them and then we share it. So the more you give us, in Tyrone's case, the better, you know, we're going to feel better.
Absolutely.
Great point, Natalie. Yeah, great.
Kristen, just something interesting because as you know, I'm also involved with Condé Nast in addition to the wellness business that I do, but they actually had sent out a reader survey that was very heavily focused on UK, but there was 1,200 readers that had responded to the survey, and they had said that Caribbean was number 5 on the list of future travel plans. And I can send that to you if you'd like to see it as well, but I thought that was really kind of exciting to see for the Caribbean.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think that, you know, as we move forward, and as, you know, Paloma had said earlier, you know, this has changed. It's by the week, by the day. And so now that we're kind of getting into this, what we hope is the recovery, the post-peak time period, it's important to know what the American travelers, how they're feeling about certain destinations, and obviously equally important for you guys to be as educated as possible when guiding them towards what destination is best. So that's a great point. Thank you for that. So we have just a few more minutes before our Q&A opens up. But anything else that our panelists want to just bring to the table? I mean, no pressure at all, but anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you kind of want to open up to the group?
No?
All right.
We can dive into questions. Okay, Dean, so there are quite a few questions for you, as you can imagine, being from the tourist board. But one thing I think is important to know is what the flight schedule from the States is going to look like, and maybe in particular the Northeast.
Yes. So as you guys might be aware, American started scheduled daily flight last week, which was the 4th, and that's daily. That will change. That's only out of Miami for now, but that's going to change come October, come July, I'm sorry, from JFK, and then I'll go through the 24th of October, 2020. Again, I can send all the flight details because I have to really read them off, but yeah, as of now, we have one daily flight out of Miami to Antigua, but that's going to change, like I said, in July, and then Delta starts July 4th as well. And United, they're going to start before August, and JetBlue, they're going to start July 2nd and 4th. We're going to see JetBlue service coming out of JFK as well. So again, anybody who's on the chat, I can actually have, I think Neural is on. I probably haven't dropped the flight schedule in the chat so everyone can see that.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we have services moving forward as of July. We'll have more frequent service to Antigua. So
that means we can get to the destination relatively soon. Like, that's my question.
I would say wait for July. We have tons of flights coming on in July.
Okay,
yeah?
Awesome. And just a question about the quarantine. Whose expense is that at if you do have to go into quarantine as a traveler?
Well, yeah, so here's the thing. It's very fluid, as you guys might have imagined. The government was actually trying to take up the slack of that for people that's quarantined, but that's only for the initial stage of it. But moving forward, you know, if the person has to be hospitalized or something, they'll have to take up their medical bills and stuff like that.
Okay, but actually going into the quarantine, there's no fee for that?
Initially, now we're just taking care of that initially, yeah.
Okay, great. And if an advisor has clients who are worried about being quarantined, is there anything that they can do to specify where they would go into quarantine? Because I think you guys mentioned that there were 3 or 4 different hotels that were being hubs for quarantining.
So basically what's going on with that, again, this is all subject to change based on how soon things flatten out and what's going on. If you get tested, like I said, you did that quarantine questionnaire and you have more positive than negative answers. We're going to test you further, and if you come up positive, you'll be notified within 48 hours, whichever resort you're staying at, and you'll be quarantined as of now in your room.
Okay.
Or someplace in the hotel facility. And then, but we have different options as well. We have hotels that actually we're using to quarantine some of these people based on the severity of the problem. Yeah.
And if clients do arrive and say they've been tested in New York or wherever they came from, maybe 24 or 48 hours,
48 hours, yeah.
do they still need to be retested when they land in the destination?
Correct.
Okay, great. Just check if there's any last minute.
They have to do a PCR. Well, if they have those, fever, excessive cough, so forth, and we test them, they have to get a PCR test will be done, and they'll be informed within 24 hours upon arrival, or between 24 and 48 hours of their status and where they'll be housed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel that the hospital and clinics on the island will be prepared to handle an influx with the flights all coming back in? Has there been any note on the ground about the capability to handle an influx of cases?
Well, that's a medical response, but I think we actually, so far, we've been doing a very good job with that. Those things have been looked on in case there was an influx of that breakout, which we hope will never take place. But there have been procedures and protocol being in place already based on that question. So if that happened, we'll be able to, more than likely, be able to handle it. Yeah.
Okay. And as the flights have come in thus far, are there any positive cases that have come in? Is there anyone that has been quarantined?
Thank God, no. Well, first flight, we had like I said, it was mostly diaspora traffic and business people, and we had 76 tourists. Nobody was infected. Everybody was fine.
And was anyone quarantined of those 76?
I'm sorry?
Was anyone quarantined of those?
No, I'm saying everybody was fine coming off. Yeah.
That's great. And either you or Narelle, is there a list of hotels that are currently designated for quarantine that you can speak to now, or maybe put in the chat for everyone?
You can put in the chat. I'll have one that's been used is Hawksbill for now, and there's a few other facilities, but we'll put it in the chat so the travel advisors can once those are.
All right, I think you've got through all of your questions. You did very well. And moving to Tarun, I know you guys are anticipating opening in October. Is there any word as to whether guests will have to wear masks on the property?
So at the moment, as per the protocol that the government has, is the guests need to wear the mask. But I think down the road by October, it might be easier. Is on the protocol, and there will be new protocol coming in. Like, every day there's changes about the protocol. So we will work with the new and current protocol when we are going to be open.
Okay. And is that planning to be all across the hotel, or is it certain areas, maybe just restaurants, that they would have to wear the masks in?
It would be difficult for them to wear the mask in the restaurant, as we will try to do the social distancing for the table and for the service. So, be hard for them to enjoy their meal or having their drinks. There's a mask on. Yeah. So working on the protocol and see closer to the date what's going to happen.
Great. And moving to Rachel, someone wanted to know what the name of the high touch point email with the video that you talked about. What's the name of that?
It's called Loom. It's LOOM, and it is basically I think you install it into your browser, and we are on a G Suite platform, and so basically you can record your face and your voice, and you can explain an itinerary or about properties. So it's a little bit more of a personal touch than just sending an email and typing it all out, and it's a lot faster for advisors as well.
Great, thank you. And then I'm going to pop back quickly to you, Tarun. Are you planning to have medical staff on site once you do open?
At the moment, the government is asking for a nurse to be on site. We will have a doctor on call and a nurse on call when we'll be thinking to be reopening back in October.
Great. And Dean, do you currently know if the hotels that are being used to quarantine now, did they have medical staff on site?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is Stingray City currently open? Do you know that?
Well, adventure, it's in phases, yeah. So we're trying to make sure that all the adventure people have their protocols in place before we open those guys up. So everything's in phases like they're doing in the States, you know, so that will come eventually. But yeah, we're working on all the adventure and soft activities, but those are slowly coming.
Okay.
Yep.
And someone didn't fully understand the expense of the quarantine to the consumer. You said that as of right now, it is being taken care of by the government, but only if they would be hospitalized, that would be up to them, correct?
Yeah, we're asking people to get insurance at their discretion before they travel to Antigua, because if you do get to be hospitalized for any, you know, it's just too much of a huge undertaking for the government. So we're asking people to really use their discretion if they're traveling at this particular time to really purchase insurance. So we could take that.
Absolutely, I definitely would recommend that. And I know that you guys do also have a list of the hotel opening schedules that you sent to me.
Yes.
I think I saw it from Narelle. Narelle, can you post that?
Yeah,
We're
well,
asking a lot of you.
Guys, we have the whole flight schedule. We just got our new flight schedule today. We're going to drop that in. I know Narelle is so good. He's probably already dropped it in there. And we have the hotel opening and closure, which we're going to drop in the chat as well. So those two things you'll have. And the protocol, we'll put some in there as well, and the guidelines that we're now using, which is subject to change, some of them. So just
yeah, I can see that Narelle is already on it in the chat.
Yeah.
And is there any public, like just having heard word on the ground in Antigua, are people having to social distance and wear masks in public places in Antigua?
Yeah, just like we're doing in the States. If you're going to a store or a restaurant or what have you, you're required to wear a face mask. And I'm quite sure most of the hotels are doing the same thing. Once they open up, you know, once you're in contact with a guest, you'll have to have it on. But if you're not in contact with a guest, you're just on the beach, you don't have to wear it. So again, those are some of the things that we're doing to make things a little relaxed, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if there's any last minute questions that have come in. Someone's asking if there will be help for rebooking flights for people having to quarantine. Many travel insurance companies are not covering coronavirus related illnesses. Either Dean or any of the travel advisors, can you speak to that?
I would just say, again, like I said, you know, even with the tour operators and the hotels, I just think moving forward as partners, we just have to be more flexible with what we can offer the clients and so forth. So, you know, it's all a discretion of some of the hoteliers and the tour operators that you're booking with, to really make sure that your clients and everybody's in good standings, because these are really tricky times where nobody wants to misstep at this point. So we just have to try to help each other, even with what the tourist board is doing. You know, we're gonna take up some of the slacks in terms of, you know, people being tested, not being able to pay for it there and then. But those are the little things that we're trying to do to make sure, you know, we're all in this together, like we say, you know, so.
Absolutely.
Most of the airlines being really flexible. I mean, they're even waiving change fees for at least the next couple of months. So that's actually a very, very good thing. I mean, obviously you have to pay the difference in fare, but the cost is not covered there in terms of the change fee.
Yeah.
I think even myself, I'm sure we've all been affected by that. The airlines have been very understanding, and I've had to cancel several flights, and they have been definitely very understanding and very helpful. So we'll just do one more question and we'll end with you, Dean. Are masks being supplied on the island?
Yes, if you're taking a taxi, if you come off the flight, you don't have one, mask will be provided for you. Even with the resorts, you know, they'll provide you with a mask. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I think it was absolutely a fantastic turnout. Very informative for everyone. We appreciate and we know that everyone's time is valuable. So thank you for spending the afternoon with us. This is also being recorded, so we will send everyone a follow-up email with all of our information, contact information. All of the panelists will be CC'd as well. So we encourage you to share it with your colleagues and your friends, just to keep them updated and informed. and stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. It was a fantastic turnout. Thank you so much to our panelists and everyone who's joined.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.